A quorum is present. We have enough members here in person and members who are present on the WebEx platform to proceed. So I want to welcome all the returning and new members of the committee to our full committee organizational meeting for the 117th Congress. We are meeting today to introduce new members of the committee on both sides of the aisle, adopt our committee rules of procedure for the 117th Congress, and to ratify our subcommittee chairs, ranking members, and subcommittee assignments. We are holding today's meeting in a hybrid format in compliance with rules and regulations for remote committee proceedings pursuant to House Resolution 8. While I certainly hope that by now we would all be able to safely gather together in this very historic room, in the interest of protecting the health and members of staff alike.
Come in, I don't have sound.
Just making sure.
We will continue to significantly limit the number of people in the room at any one time and encourage members to participate remotely. I want to underscore that I plan to continue this committee's long tradition of collegiality and substantive debate, even when we disagree. Even as we conduct our business from afar, that will remain our guiding principle. I will continue to work with the ranking member and his staff to ensure the rights of all members are respected in the virtual format. I know that many of us have become familiar with this new virtual format, but I want to provide a few reminders. First, consistent with regulations, the committee will keep microphones muted to limit background noise. Members are responsible for unmuting themselves when they seek recognition or when recognized for their 5 minutes. Committee staff will mute members only in the event of an inadvertent background noise. Second, members must have their cameras on at all times. If you need to step away from the proceedings, please leave your camera on rather than logging out. Third, when a question is put before the committee, members who are present on the WebEx platform are reminded to unmute themselves for the voice vote. And finally, in the event of a request for a record vote, we will pause proceedings to allow the clerk to have time to set up. Again, I know what an inconvenience that is, but I think that that's a requirement as to how we will proceed. All members who are present remotely should stay on the platform to vote. Please do not come to the hearing room if you are already present remotely. Once the clerk is ready, we will proceed through the roll call until every member has an opportunity to vote. Please be advised that all members will be responsible for unmuting themselves when called upon. Thank you all for your patience, and we will continue to navigate these new procedures as we serve our country together in this very important time of need. And now I'm going to turn to the subject of our meeting today, organizing the 117th Congress. At the outset of the previous Congress, I reminded all of the great history of this committee and even greater responsibility that is entrusted with us as members at this moment. It is the breadth of this responsibility that guided us to bold, clear priorities and a mission to level the playing field for the American people. We swiftly passed legislation to lower prescription drug prices, strengthen the retirement security, reform the IRS, to use the tax code to support low-wage workers and middle-class families. We led the successful effort to vastly improve and, in fact, renegotiate the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, ensuring that it contained robust protections for both workers and the environment, as well as the strongest enforcement mechanisms of any trade agreement. I don't have to tell you how impressed and pleased I was with the success we had with surprise billing as well. We carried out this work to secure a healthier, more prosperous future for our nation. As the crisis struck, the nature and scale of which we find in front of us, none of us would have made that prediction. COVID-19 sparked both a deadly public health emergency and deep economic recession. Our nation has experienced profound trauma at the hands of this pandemic. My heart is with those who are mourning the loss of loved ones and struggling to make ends meet. Even as we gather, 25 million Americans, it is believed, have been infected with the virus. As it is throughout history, the United States, the Ways and Means Committee, have risen to the moment and led some of the most significant provisions in Congress's COVID response legislation. Our members' efforts have helped to keep jobless workers afloat, families in their homes, and employees connected to their employers, all while giving first responders the resources they needed to fight this disastrous virus. This committee's quick, thorough work prevented even greater catastrophe and truly provided lifelines for all Americans in need. Now, at the outset of the 117th Congress, we are called upon to learn from last year and continue to take bold action that will finally crush the virus and re-energize the economy. This historic crisis is hardly over, and neither is our work in terms of addressing it. Arguably, the greatest risk that lies ahead for our committee and the Congress is not doing enough to soundly eradicate the pandemic and protect Americans who are suffering. The less we do now, the more we will pay for our inaction down the road. Saving lives and livelihoods are the two causes that unite all members of Congress, regardless of party. There is nothing partisan about helping our fellow Americans through the darkest days. If there was ever a time to make substantial investments in the future of our country, it is now. I have long advocated, and I believe there is broad support for a sweeping infrastructure package as well. I know we can work together to get this done. We can build on last year's Moving Forward Act to make long overdue updates to our roads, rail system, broadband, waterways, and increase opportunities for all Americans as we reinvigorate our economy, creating jobs and combating climate change. As we advance these and other priorities, we must do so while maintaining a firm commitment to policies centered around health and economic equity. The crisis of this past year has exposed and exacerbated long-standing disparities in the United States that we cannot ignore and must address. It's my sincerest hope that this committee will continue to work its will through the 117th Congress to meet the extraordinary challenges of this time and to lead our nation to a brighter, more just future. Before I turn to our ranking member, I want to welcome the new members of our committee and emphasize how much I look forward to working with you. For the majority, I want to welcome Stacy Plaskett from the Virgin Islands, and on the minority side, I want to welcome Kevin Hearn of Oklahoma, Lloyd Smucker of Pennsylvania, and Carol Miller of West Virginia. We thank you all for your service. And with that, let me recognize the ranking member, Mr. Brady, for his opening statement.
Chairman Neal, thank you for calling this meeting today. While the organizational meeting may seem to be just another administrative task, it's truly an important event. It's the first chance for us to meet officially and to have the chair gavel in the committee for the new Congress. This meeting, of course, looks different this year. And I know for our new members joining the dais this year, not being able to feel the history and reverence of this room as a member can be frustrating. My hope and prayer is that we will defeat this virus so we can again reopen these doors. But the people's business must continue. The work that our committee is tasked to do is too important to delay. And given that our committee's jurisdiction touches nearly every corner of our economy and every person in America, it is important we work together where we can and as often as we can to deliver bipartisan victories for American families, workers, and small businesses. In this last Congress, the committee's track record of bipartisan success was laudable. And Chairman Neal, I commend your leadership during a period of years that presented challenges that no one saw coming. Together, we modernized our North American trading relationship for the first time in decades. With the help of our friend, the late John Lewis, we reformed the IRS for the first time in over 20 years and turned it into an agency focused on taxpayers' service. Together, we got signed into law the first ever ban on surprise medical bills, legislation that was principally the work product of this committee. We made historic reforms to our retirement savings system. We made strides toward reforming the annual circus that this town knows as temporary tax extenders. We were able to fight and deliver important tax relief to patients, families, and small businesses. We were able to eliminate or delay a number of harmful tax hikes that would have struck Americans with higher tax costs, including the health insurance tax, the medical device tax, and the Cadillac tax. And most importantly, this committee led the charge to deliver economic and health relief to our country in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. We spearheaded efforts to get help for our workers, families, and small businesses, to get more resources in the hands of our healthcare providers, including rural healthcare providers, and to ensure they had more funding to fight this virus. The fight isn't over yet, as the chairman noted, but the finish line is in sight. Multiple vaccines are available, and some in the last stages of trial. Americans continue to do their part to stop the spread, and our small businesses are hungry to get their workers back so they can continue to serve our communities, which is why Republicans have two main points of focus this Congress: crush this virus and rebuild our economy. To do that, we must ensure any further relief is targeted so that those people and industries that need it most get it in a timely, clear fashion. We have to continue to aid in the development and distributions of vaccine so that every American who wants a vaccine can get one. We need to help workers reconnect to their jobs, especially those who work for our Main Street businesses. But we cannot just be focused on the challenges of today. We must keep on moving forward and looking to address the needs of the future, next year, next decade, and the next generation. There is more we can do to help Americans plan and save for retirement, and I'm hopeful that we can build on our bipartisan work from the Secure Act to achieve just that. We must focus on innovation, because whichever country in the world wins the innovation race wins the future. We need to work to make America medically independent from China in crucial medicines, medical supplies, ingredients, and technology, so that if future pandemic strikes, we're ready from day one. Make sure we have the right incentives in place to ensure a pipeline of life-saving therapies for the next health crisis like a pandemic. And we must continue to use our tax code as a tool for growth of jobs, growth of paychecks, and growth of investments here in America. Serving on this committee has been one of the highest and is one of the highest honors of my life. It's a place of tradition, a place of patriotism, a place of America. Chairman Neal, I pray for your success this Congress and for our committee's success. And you have my word that Republicans will work in good faith as we work together to serve this country we love. I would, with your permission, like to note our new members, if
Please.
I may. So this is an exciting year for our committee as we welcome 3 new Republicans to the dais, and I also want to welcome our new Democratic colleagues as well, including Stacey Plaskett, delegate from the Virgin Islands. I'd first like to introduce Representative Kevin Hearn, who has joined us today. Kevin grew up in poverty, but resolved to make something of himself at a young age. He worked to pay his way through college to become an aerospace engineer. After that career, he pivoted into the business world, working full-time at McDonald's while starting side businesses in real estate, coding, and farming to save up to buy his first restaurant. Since becoming a McDonald's franchisee, he built a company that has employed thousands of people and extends into the manufacturing, technology, real estate, and hospitality industries. We welcome Kevin Hearn to the Ways and Means family. Our next new member is Representative Lloyd Smucker, a son of Pennsylvania, the home to the first chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, Thomas Fitzsimons. Lloyd's lived the American dream and is fighting to do the same for others. After graduating high school at age 17, Representative Smucker purchased his brother's small business, which he grew over the course of 25 years to employ 150 people. After selling his business, he was elected to serve 2 terms in the Pennsylvania State Senate, where he chaired the Education Committee prior to being elected to the People's House. We welcome Lloyd as well. Finally, we are thrilled to welcome Congresswoman Carol Miller, representing West Virginia's 3rd Congressional District. Carol is a wife, a mother of 2, grandmother of 6, small business owner, and a bison farmer. Prior to coming to Congress in 2018, she served in the West Virginia House of Delegates, where she made history by becoming the first female majority whip in the state's history. She is the founder, Mr. Chairman, of the Congressional Energy Export Caucus, and very interested in our trade efforts, and visited China to ensure West Virginia coal and hardwood exports were being treated fairly. So on behalf of the Ways and Means Republicans, welcome to Congress's senior, first, and oldest committee. Thank you, sir.
Thank the ranking member. I know that he shares my love of this committee and the special responsibility we have as measured by history. So now, pursuant to Clause 2A of House Rule 11, our first order of business is adoption of the committee's rules of procedure for the 117th Congress. copy of these proposed rules have been distributed to each of you in advance. Let me briefly summarize the small changes to rules from the last Congress. First, we have expanded the subcommittees and changed their ratios to reflect the change in the ratio of the full committee caused by the addition of an additional Republican member. In addition, we have made updates to the rules to include gender-neutral language and have removed outdated language limiting the testimony of certain witnesses. I want to thank the ranking member and his staff for working with me on this package so we can get the committee up and running. And with that, I yield to Mr. Brady for any remarks that he may have about the rules.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for working with us. These are essentially the rules of the last session and updated, I think, in a smart way, and we fully support them.
Are there any members who wish to comment on the rules of procedure? Are there any amendments to the committee's rules? If not, we will move to a vote. At this time, our first vote is under this hybrid format. I want to remind members who are present remotely to unmute yourself. And now, I move that the proposed rules be adopted as the rules of the Committee on Ways and Means for the 117th Congress. All of those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All of those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the rules are adopted. Pursuant to House rules, the rules adopted by the Committee on Ways and Means for the 117th Congress will be published in the Congressional Record and made available to members on the committee's public website. Now we will move to approve our subcommittee chairs and ranking members. Members have in front of them and have received in advance rosters of the full committee members as well as each subcommittee listing chairs and ranking members. The full committee vice chair will be Representative Suzanne Del Bene, who was elected by the Democratic Committee Caucus. The chairs of our subcommittees are the Subcommittee on Health, Lloyd Doggett of Texas, the Subcommittee on Worker and Family Support, Danny Davis of Illinois, the Subcommittee on Oversight, Bill Pascrell of New Jersey, the Subcommittee on Select Revenue Measures, Mike Thompson of California, the Subcommittee on Social Security, Representative John Larson of Connecticut, and the Subcommittee on Trade, Representative Earl Blumenauer of Oregon. I now yield to the ranking member to introduce his subcommittee ranking members.
Thank you, Chairman Neal. I'm proud to introduce our ranking members of the Ways and Means subcommittees. Devin Nunes of California, the Republican leader on the Health Subcommittee. Vern Buchanan of Florida, Republican leader of the Trade. Adrian Smith of Nebraska, Republican leader of the Select Revenue Measures. Mike Kelly of Pennsylvania, Republican leader of the Oversight Subcommittee. Tom Reed of New York, Republican leader of the Social Security Subcommittee. And Jackie Walorski of Indiana, the Republican leader on the Worker and Family Support Subcommittee. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brady. I move that the list of subcommittee chairs and ranking members and the vice chair is set forth in the rosters now be approved. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say no.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the chairs and ranking members are appointed. We will now approve subcommittee assignments. A copy of the subcommittee rosters have been made available to all members. I move that the subcommittee assignments as set forth in the rosters be approved. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the subcommittee rosters are approved. That concludes the formal business before us today, and without objection, the committee stands adjourned.